Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show. We are back again. I am Chris, host this evening. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to give my title, so I'm just going to say I'm Chris. With me, I have Chris, and this is the Chris Cast. Tonight, we're going to cover such interesting topics as why some mothers insist on using the letter K in the beginning, and why telemarketers sometimes ask if it's spelled with a PH like it would actually be spelled with an F. Right after this. And there's that pregnant pause. Hi, we're not actually doing the Chris Cast.
Wow.
David, don't criticize me. All right, David, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm David. Also Brandon Wolf. I write for MMORPG, GameSpace, and I also stream. And yeah, hi. Oh, and over there is Ed. Say hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed. Hi, I'm Ed, also known as Screenager. I am Scottish. That's the only reason they've got me here. I also squawk for a number of online portals, including GameSpace, and they somehow haven't managed to stop me from writing stuff on MMORPG. I don't know why.
And also, we have the only other Chris on the show, which by default makes you the second most important person, right behind me. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
It's going well. Introduce yourself, sir.
Chris, also known as Shinzon of Remus in some things and Delacron in others. Brand new reviewer for GameSpace.com.
So we had to bring you on. You've been on the team for a week. So I said, put on your game face, dressed in your fancy duds. We're going on the internet live.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, so I had to try the Chris Cast. Can I tell you something like how this actually happened? I was driving home this evening, and I thought to myself, you know what? It would be really great if everyone introduced themselves as Chris, but I knew you people would not join me in doing that and making it a Chris Cast, so I did it for you, and I hope you appreciated that. You in particular, Brandon Wolf.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Brandon?
Wow, that sounded convinced right there.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. Wait. I'm awake. Okay. You get either awake or loopy. You're getting awake right now.
Well, we're gonna push into loopy because I want to know about where this wolf was branded. It's time to dig into the backstory. We're going into the lore. What's going on, man?
Oh, you mean the username where I came up with that?
Yeah.
That came from my first time online gaming many moons ago. I played, what was it, MechWarrior 2 or MechWarrior 3, one or the other.
There are no wolves in MechWarrior.
There are actually. Clan Wolf. And also Wolf's Dragoons. And it was Microsoft was part of it? Microsoft. They wanted a username. I couldn't think of one. I made Branded Wolf. And it's kind of stuck to me since then.
I like it. It's very good. You have the most interesting, well, apart from Screenager, that's actually really cool. It's kind of like a punk rock screen name. So it is, right? Like
it's the result of many years of one of those decisions you make in your youth that you kind of get stuck with. Back when I think I started playing online games, which was far too long ago to remember. I was a massive Muse fan, and it was a single name or a song name, and it kind of just stuck at the point at which I think it was, probably midway through playing Aeon after a couple of years, and everyone knew me by that handle, at which point I was like, there comes a point at which you go, there's just no point in changing this anymore, and for some bizarre reason, I've not fallen to name sniping in MMOs, and that is not a challenge, internet. Please don't.
Oh, you said it now.
Game on.
You can't actually say something on Twitch without it being taken as a challenge. So
Oh,
I would go to every
Reddit.
game right now and register that.
I'm going. No.
Yeah. Well, we have an interesting show for everybody today. There was some stuff that happened on Steam with Incel Games. Have you guys heard about this at all? It's a bit of a review scandal.
It's
Heard a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah. So
Not
if you
surprising.
haven't heard about it, what actually happened was this company, Incel Games, they made the game Guardians of Ember and a couple other small titles. They released their latest game. I'm trying to find the title of this thing.
Guardians of Emperor.
No. They had
No,
another one. It was
Wasn't it? No, that's the latest one.
No,
They finally went out of, because I did the review months ago that they finally went out early access with.
yes, but that wasn't the thing that got them in trouble.
Was
It wasn't Guardians of Ember. No,
I think it was Wild Buster Heroes.
Yes,
of Titan?
yes.
That would be the one.
Was? Okay.
Which, let's be bluntly honest, was not exactly the greatest game in the world.
None of their games were, honestly. Let's be honest about that.
I don't know. Guardians of Ember had potential, but I played that during its very first release into early access, and it was kind of gave it a middling response. But Wild Buster was a bit. It was very meh.
It was. Guardians could have been a lot better because I think they tried to mix two genres, but it did have potential for future growth. But then they shot themselves in the foot.
I think when you're naming your game something as generic as Wild Buster, you're kind of already in a little bit of trouble. That doesn't tell you anything about any. Although Guardians of Ember is kind of in the same boat. Like maybe that gets at lore or something. I'm sure Wild Buster does too. But essentially, what happened? They had Wild Buster come out. They're a small studio, and like many small studios, they really bank on word of mouth. So the CEO of the company sends out an email to everybody, saying he was disappointed that more employees didn't buy the game and leave reviews. So essentially, he said they had until the end of the week to buy the game and submit a claim for reimbursement. And if they didn't want to write a review, they had to meet with him and explain why. So the internet picked up on this. The story ran because after they had that, there was this big spike in positive reviews, of course. And Steam went and pulled all of the company's games off of their platform for review manipulation. And I guess the question is, are they... number one, do we think this is bad, and what do we think of Steam's response? So, Chris, we'll go with you first. You're the new guy, so what do you think of this?
So, I mean, you're going to tell people they have to buy the game, tell them you're going to give the money back if they put a reimbursement in, and then tell them they have to review it? I mean, that does sound kind of wrong to me.
I don't know. I mean, like, yes, I agree that it's wrong, but I
understand they want to get their game out there. They want positive reviews, and who doesn't?
Right.
You know, everyone wants positive reviews. Anybody who streams wants positive reviews. So definitely,
give us a 5-star iTunes rating.
Please. So I don't know. You're hand in hand in this one, kind of. So, I mean, yes, as a company CEO, you could probably say, "Hey, you know, guys, if you like the game, go review it," but don't tell them to go buy it, and then you'll reimburse them for it. You know.
Honestly, though, I guess from where I'm sitting, that's less of an issue because they can't leave a review if they don't buy it. So reimbursing them for that, I mean, because like, look at what we do. We get game codes all the time. So, I mean, if you're in a certain position, you don't necessarily have to buy the games typically. And if you're working for a company and you made the game, one would hope you would get a free copy. But it was really all in the effort of getting these people to leave a positive review. How about you, Ed? Where do you land on?
I think that's where the conflict of interest really raises its head at the end of the day. I mean, it's a shit show all round, let's be honest. The fact that a CEO turns around and emails their staff to do that is, firstly, that shows a massive level of just... It shows a huge level of disrespect to your paying customers to start with. It shows the fact that you have a lack of experience in this industry. Whoever you are, I'm sorry, but you've got so little experience to turn around and do that and leave a paper trail. I mean, I don't know where to start at the end of the day. And frankly, your staff would probably have left a review of the game if you had just let them to it, or, let's be bluntly honest, apply a little bit of social pressure in the office rather than sending an email ultimatum round like that. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's the point at which you turn around and ask your staff to leave the review that it becomes a conflict of interest. We all suffer from having to handle that conflict of interest day in, day out, from getting game codes for nothing. And we, like you see, GameSpace will put a note down the bottom of it saying we've got a game code from a developer and we have to deal with that. Had the staff just put down on the reviews that they were staff, this maybe wouldn't have been such a conflict of interest. And that's the issue with these sort of things, is you've got to have clarity with that conflict of interest. As for Steam's response, I'll leave that until a little bit further down the line where we discuss that. But that's that's a bit of a mess in and of itself, and that's a wider issue.
I find it interesting, like on the real practical side, where how you mentioned leaving a paper trail, because a comment that I had seen that I thought was probably pretty apt is these guys got caught doing it, but how many other places are encouraging their employees to leave positive reviews, like you said, through social pressure? Because I guarantee you it's not just them. They just got caught because they sent the email to do it.
It's
Hand
not
in the
I mean,
cookie jar.
yeah, well, I mean, enough of us that have been around know for a fact that it happens in the office. You know, I see you necessarily won't come round and say that I want you to do this, but it's not uncommon for there to be a culture where it's expected.
Right. Well, it has to do with shared success. So on like a human level, I do understand as a business, they want to do everything they can to get that snowball rolling down the hill. Like, I do get it, but is it right that they are doing that? I don't think so. Where he really went wrong is, I think, saying you need to meet with me to explain why. Because if your boss is saying you need to meet with me with an explanation for this thing I'm unhappy about, there is an implied pressure in that because he has power over you as the employee, and you're thinking about job security and things like that.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to leave a positive review versus meeting with him and saying I don't want to for X reason. How about you, David? Brandon?
All right, so I have a lot of thoughts on this. First, I want to take a second to voice Kiwi's thoughts of, like, this sucks for the people who work there, which really does. But I'll talk about that for a second, but what I want to talk about is Steam's response first. They literally had to nuke this from orbit because you can't be seen as a company to protect your consumers by letting this happen. Just like, here's a slap on the wrist, don't do that again. You can't do that. Steam sells thousands, hundreds of thousands of games. They have to be seen protecting the consumer because sometimes they really don't. They do some bad practices. But in this instance, they have to go, yeah, you got caught. I'm sorry. Boom, you're gone. Because they have to set this precedent as a huge company, irregardless of how bad it is for Intel Games, how much it affects their company and their people. You got caught. You got to pay the price. And it has to be seen, boom, this is hard. Don't get, you might do this. Other companies probably do this. Don't get caught or this happens. Because they have to do this to this small company, because otherwise the AAA games are going to let it slip. And because we know it probably does happen more often than we like to admit, right? And we do get copies ourselves, and which is why we're cognizant of saying, hey, got this for free. And we get accused so many times of being sellouts, and I'd love to see that money if we're sellouts, but we're not. So Steam had to do this. Even though it's not fair to the people who work there, that's what had to happen.
No, I tend to agree with you. See, I'm somebody who tends to think of the human element a lot when it comes to big business decisions, and outside of gaming too. Like you know, anytime there's layoffs, that's terrible. And the gaming industry in general, developers generally have a hard time. Like, we see games come out, they all get laid off, they're forced to move. Like, these guys don't have it easy. But in this situation, I agree with you because, I mean, they have to take that hard line on it, number one, for that public messaging part you're talking about. But there's also a practical business level of, if you're going to punish the business, inherently you are punishing the people who work at that business where it's not their call. So the person here who needs to answer for it is the CEO. And exactly. I'm not somebody who believes that you should just destroy somebody's career because they make a mistake. So I'm not saying the man should step down or anything. But I think given the opportunity to make this right somehow, hopefully Steam would see that and let them back on there so it doesn't actively punish them. But you're right, like, they have to respond somehow, but this is definitely the nuclear option of, sorry, everything is gone.
Yeah, and if I can paraphrase that, the other thing is the reviews themselves. Steam reviews, let's be honest, it isn't the best system. They've tried to improve it over the years. They've tried to make it better. It's still, my biggest concern is still about the consumer, because as reviewers, that's what we're supposed to concern ourselves with. Not the companies, not the devs, the consumers, because those are people who read our reviews.
So that's the thing here, is that this kind of dovetails into a bigger point though, and that being part of Steam's response. So Steam obviously have stepped in here and they've made this effort, putting the human cost of this to one side. They're looking after the consumer, they're making a point, but more generically, Steam have, let's say this is my opinion, have had a rather sketchy past with their review systems, and what it comes down to is that Steam, like a number of large technology companies right now on the internet, are focused on building platforms and not taking either a side of this is a platform, there you go, and letting the community naturally progress and police itself, or taking a role. It segues into a number of things like Facebook and fake news, YouTube and moderation, Twitch and moderation to some extent, and finding that balance. And a lot of these companies don't really have the foresight to look into where they're going to progress to, how their systems are going to evolve, and when the shit hits the fan, a lot of the time they'll step back and go, well, we're a platform, so sorry. And then things like this happen where they have to take a stance, but it becomes a very ad hoc situation, and that's a problem.
It is. I agree with you. And there are people out there that believe this is a double standard because they can be really pro-consumer with an action like this, we'd say. But what about all of the crap and like just the selling of total sham games through early access and Steam Greenlight and all these things? Like they have not been and actively said they are not a curator of content. They want to be that platform. So when they come and they want to remove something for review manipulation, I get it and I agree with it. But I think there is some merit to say, well, hey, if you're so pro-consumer, how about every other area where you're currently sucking it up right now, folks?
Yeah, and it's something Steam can work on. God knows what Steam's going to do or when they'll do something. But what we can do ourselves as not only game reviewers, but people watching, if you like a game, take that 5 minutes, leave a review. Because the Steam review system does suck. It gets a lot of harsh, weird reviews. It gets a lot of haha fun reviews. It doesn't really help. But if you like a game, and chances are you have a lot of games on Steam, leave a review. Which is something I'm going to try to do further going, especially when I do a game review. I want to hit that game itself with a review and a link to their game review, and hopefully that helps the game themselves. Because honestly, that's about all we can do. It relies on Steam to whether or not they want to change the process or do something more, but with Steam, I doubt anything special is going to happen with that.
So that's the thing, though. The Steam, realistically, the Steam have the moral authority to turn around and take this stance when they're quite happy to have review bombing going on. That's what I mean about double standards.
Yep. Yeah, and that's very true. Like, why are they not purging vindictive reviews in that way? They should be. Or we mean review bombing, and maybe this is what you mean. When I think of review bombing, Ed, I think of mass amounts of those. But there's also many people where just independently, they'll go and they'll leave a very negative review, sometimes of a game that very clearly requires a good time investment. And you'll see right on there, played for 25 minutes or something like that. Or people who will leave a very negative review after having made some personal mistake in buying that also. I mean, like the review system, like we're saying, is imperfect. Yeah,
like exactly. They leave a negative review like, oh, this didn't work on my computer. Well, that's not a negative review. Fix your computer or learn what happened.
There was a lack of content in my early access game. Like the game, they just they wrote the picture on paper 5 minutes ago. Give them some credit.
It's like people complaining about like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where you had one map for a whole year. You finally get another map that you've been asking for, and then you don't play it because you don't like it. It's like you played 5 minutes and you don't like the map. Okay.
You know what, damn it. I don't want to hear anything about no vaulting Battlegrounds for the first. Yeah, I'm wagging my finger about that Battlegrounds, sir. Because vaulting
there, I didn't care about not having vaulting. So
well, that's because they paid you piles of money, Mr. Twitch stream.
Where's Damien
on YouTube? Sorry.
Fun fact. Chris right now is not in a chair. He's actually sitting on piles of money. That's what's going on. No,
there is a chair there.
Stuffed with money.
God, I wish.
So
let's just say I'd have better than a small little Logitech webcam if I was sitting on piles of money.
So over on Google Play, Ed, you shared a story recently about Game Dev Story. Can you give a little background into what this is about?
Yeah, the long and short of this is recently, just off the back of the issues with Steam stepping in to Incel Games, it brought up some points that we were talking about earlier this week about moderation, and like I said, about building platforms and where a company should step in and start moderating those platforms, or whether they should allow their platforms to simply develop and just have natural progression within the community. Google Play have stepped in and essentially removed thousands of reviews for, I believe it's Game Dev Tycoon, which is currently available on Google Play. Now, the reasons behind that are not necessarily clear, but the game did have thousands of reviews. It now, as of this week, has about 700. Thankfully, it hasn't hurt the developer's review score overall, but it obviously potentially could. Google have not necessarily come out and advised why they've done that, but the suspicion is that it's because a number of the reviews are tied to free copies of the game. Obviously, a number of mobile games have free copies and paid for versions, and it's believed that the majority of the reviews are from the free-to-play version, and they've all been stripped out of the review scores. And it somewhat raises the question as to, one, how far a platform developer like, again, Alphabet or Google should go ahead and moderate their platform, and how clear they should be about this sort of thing. Because transparency, again, if you're going to moderate something, is key. But it just very much dovetails into the Steam situation.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting what happened to them. They went from like 3,000 down to 700. And when I read the story, I wasn't entirely clear. And you're right, Google is not sharing really anything. Like, apparently, the developers there got in touch with Google and they're like, yes, that's valid. And like, that's pretty much it.
We're Google. We can do what we want. Have a nice day.
But yeah, you know, I feel bad in that kind of situation because they're in the mobile space with that. And, you know, that game's been out for a while. But in the mobile space...
too, by the way.
It is, yeah, it is. It's a completely legitimate game.
I'll have to try it
like
out.
It's not an abusive game. But the whole thing with mobile is you really need that word of mouth. Like, it is very hard to get noticed in the mobile space, even if you're an established game on another platform like that one is. So I feel bad that happened to them. And in the story, they almost made it sound like it was an algorithmic kind of removal because it happens to these other free-to-play games, which would be quite unfair. Like, I would hope they have some kind of petitioning in place, because since that is actively harmful to that game, financially, I would imagine, like, there has to be some kind of way for them to say, listen, you know, you're hurting us. Stop it.
Unfortunately, the situation with Google is that their moderation of any of their platforms has been less than opaque. It is less than transparent, even. It has been pretty opaque. The fact is that things like YouTube moderation, it just makes no sense, even down to their content moderation on YouTube. It just, none of it is, as anyone watching Twitch will probably know, that is just again another shit show in and of itself. And this is another example of that, again, of platform developers wanting to develop a platform and ride that success, but not then put the money into moderation. And the problem being is that what will happen is at some point, taking it to logical extreme, I think loot boxes are a good example of this, is to some extent, and go with me here, you'll find that things, if you do not have a clear, transparent set of guidelines as to what you're going to do, and you do not stick to them, at some point something will take one situation to a logical extremity where Parliament or government or authorities will step in and do it for you. A la Facebook is a good example of that as well, is that the UK government are stepping in with Facebook, because Facebook have always tended towards being a platform rather than a publisher, and now they're finding the UK government are stepping in and saying, you need to deal with this, you need to develop technologies, you need to take a more active role. And this is the sort of thing that can happen to these platforms, and it will happen to some other platforms, no matter how big they are. And I can't necessarily think off the top of my head of a situation with, say, Steam where that's going to happen. But then again, if you had said 3 years ago you're going to get gambleized systems in gaming, I would have said, or maybe it came even more than 3 years ago. But at some point, when I was sitting playing, you were playing WoW 10 years ago, or I was playing Aeon 5 years ago, I wouldn't have ever assumed that the loot box system was going to get so bad where the government were going to have to step in. So it can happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should bring that up, because one of the other things that we had in the news coverage this week was from the Hawaii Tribune, which, essentially is that there are bills currently moving through the House in the United States looking at limiting the use of loot boxes to people over 21 years old because of things like the gambling potential. So I don't want to get into this as a big main topic, but in terms of a segue into loot boxes in general, how do you guys feel, and I'm going to throw this to you first, Chris, how do you guys feel about putting an age limitation on things like loot boxes?
So as far as loot boxes are concerned, if people are thinking it's going to be a gamble, got to be 21 or older to gamble for the most part. I've played Battlefront 2 since it came out, and that's the biggest thing was loot boxes. And you see people who after 1 week they were like max level, and you're sitting here level 1, you got nothing. It's a big cheat on other people who are trying to play the game, and if you don't have money to pay for it, what are you gonna do?
Do you think you would actually get addicted though? Even people with an addictive personality. I'll be honest, I have an addictive personality. Gambling was never quite my thing. And we do have concrete examples of people becoming addicted. However, as a matter of legislation, I'm not entirely sure saying you need to be 21 to buy the loot box is much more than a bunch of old people in Washington trying to look good to their constituents.
Right. So, as far as being addicted to something, I'll admit, tax return comes around, I will spend $100, $200 on, the in-store cash for Star Trek Online, and I'll try and get those loot boxes, try and get the special ships. So you do get addicted somewhat, but when you don't have the money,
you are part of the problem, Chris.
You're talking to a man who took a look at I think it was the EMP store for closers, went $15 a month for that. Nah, I'm not paying for premium. I won't even step up $15 a month most times these days, never mind that.
I'll tell you, from the one side, I only did it like twice, but the rest of the time, yeah, it's not really worth it, because even if you do it, you get addicted to it and you don't get anything out of it. You get, a couple in-game things, and you get copies of them 5 times over. So
you get the satisfaction of knowing you're funding the game for the people around you.
Right. Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. I don't know. See, what I think would be better than saying you have this arbitrary age limitation, which, let's face it, if you're playing a game like that anyways, it's probably tied to a credit card. And if it's tied to, what are they going to do to enforce that? Really, they're going to do something that kids are going to be smart enough to get around anyways, because if they're using a credit card to pay for an online game or to pay for services like that, they probably are using an adult's card that's over 21 anyways.
Right.
And 21 for real, you can't buy a loot box until 21 years old. It's the same old thing of you can join the army and die for your country at 18. And you can't buy a video game loot box until you're 21. Dude, you could put an assault rifle in my hands, but you better not give me that 25 cents for a loot box, because, brother, I'm not coming back from that. Yeah.
I agreed. It's a ridiculous situation. At the same time, the solution to this sort of problem isn't easy to see, but legislation isn't going to necessarily do it. The only way you're going to legislate against that is not legislate the purchase, but legislate the development and just say flat out no. And at what point do you stop legislating against development? Right, we're just going to come down to your development meeting and we're going to sit here and go, right, you can't have that, or you can't have that. Because that's not realistic either. At the end of the day, you can only hope that the consumer backlash to this sort of practice is going to be the thing that drives developers away from it. And the only people that can really do that are you and me and Chris with his piles of money.
You know what I would be in support of? Which I thought was a really good idea, is requiring, instead of putting an age limit, require them to publish the odds in an easy to see way. because I mean, like they have to put that on the back of lottery tickets, for example. So if somebody is looking at a $100 loot box, like I'm just throwing out a random example. Let's say they're looking at spending that kind of money, and they can look and see you have a 1 in 7 million chance of getting this thing. Like you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning while climbing the Statue of Liberty in a dress than getting this thing you want. It's going to disincentivize it. And at that point, if you're taking the risk and you want to go and try anyways, I think that becomes a personal responsibility issue. Unless you're a kid that's using your parents' credit card, in which case that becomes a parenting issue.
At the same time, there is some onus on the developer, like you've said to some extent, that's publishing these games with this sort of feature in it. And the gambling industry, as much as it is probably, it's something they're required to do rather than want to do, but certainly within the UK, the gambling industry is pretty much required to have gambling assistance services available, allow you to opt out of purchasing these sort of products, let's say. And there's certainly some merit to say if you're going to wrench your consumer like this, then there is some moral responsibility on the industry to have these sort of
that was subtle.
These sort of services available. Sorry, that's a Scottish cough. To have these sort of services available for people that have addiction problems, and help their consumer base not to be sucked in by what are considered predatory practices. So, for example, what is it? There's Gamble Aware, I think, is a UK gambling industry body that's set up, and again, that is purely a gambling industry body. But there is some argument to say that if a developer is going to put loot boxes in every single game that they've got, and they're going to have loot boxes to such an extent that it's going to become this sort of major issue, then should they have these sort of services and websites set up to allow people who have an addictive personality to, I don't know, turn off loot boxes in the game, for example?
Yeah, I see, but there is also the argument here that games are costing more to develop, and this is an easy way for them to subsidize the cost. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with having these things in there. I think the bigger issue is that they're not transparent enough. You know what I mean? If people know what they're getting into and they still want to buy it, I think that's okay. It's just a matter of, are they misleading people to think they have a better chance of getting it? Right? Because I would rather have these things in a game and let people who are really interested in taking that risk keep my games at $60 versus, next generation they raise to $70, which is going to happen at some point. You know what would really upset me, though, is if they had loot boxes and raise the prices. And you know what's probably going to happen? They're going to raise prices and include loot boxes. I bet you.
This is why you need to just start buying indie games.
Can't we just go back to the good old days when you have a full game?
No.
There we go.
Let's just go back to the old days when we have full games, and it's just $60. You get a game that's like 20 hours long, and don't care about loot boxes.
If we go back to that, can I get giant boxes that just have like one disc in them that rattle around?
Right.
The reality is, though, games have gone up in price, but the base standard line for pricing for the games hasn't really a lot. So that's why loot boxes were introduced. I'm okay with them as long as it's like cosmetic BS, like Overwatch, right? That's fine. You can throw Overwatch in there and costumes and gilly gags and all the fun stuff. The moment you start fucking with my game and putting shit that can make that person overpower me just because they spent real life money, go fuck yourself.
Right, so the argument that games have become more expensive to develop, though, I mean, does that bear fruit considering the fact that the free-play economy on online MMORPGs is booming?
I want to say, though, it's just because the AAA companies tend to throw out more money PR-wise, and that's why it's maybe costing more for them. But I do agree with you. Like, free-to-play MMOs, they are out there a lot, but they are unfortunately a dime a dozen, and not all of them are great.
No, not all of them are, but there's plenty of crap AAAs as well.
And I don't mind paying for stuff. Like there are a few MMO games I bought stuff for. I don't mind spending money on a game. If I like a game, like I'll get Warframe, I'll spend money on Warframe. If I truly like a game and it's a free to play game or a game I bought and I want some stuff they offer, like Star Trek Online, I'll spend money on Star Trek Online as well. I just fundamentally, as a consumer, and just how I feel about things, I prefer if those loot boxes you give me are about costumes and stuff. Don't give me something that is fundamentally going to break, as far as I'm concerned, the game and make it pay to win. I mean, that's the word everybody likes to avoid because everybody hates that word, right? Because, oh, God, pay to win. Oh, shame on you. But that's what happened with Battlefront.
And I think that's what PUBG does well, because they have the loot boxes, but they're all cosmetic. There's no help. And you get some pretty cool costumes if you open it up. But, if you've opened the 50th box and you still got like 30 pairs of shoes out of them, that's a little bit different, But then you start looking for the keys for those Desperado boxes they got now, trying to get the good stuff.
I'm just fundamentally wondering at what point Star Trek Online is starting to creep into this. Can we rename this show? Or
because they do loot boxes in there. You buy keys, and there's little boxes you can get as you're destroying enemies, and then you have to buy a key off the C-store, and then you have to open it, and you have a chance to get a good ship, or you get a chance to get a phaser or something else.
And there was me thinking you were going to say you have to buy keys off the C-store, then you get some more enemies. You just wait until the day that some developer thinks of that, and you got randomized loot box quests.
Yeah, that's part of the like Star Trek Online boxes, they're gambling, straight up. Because they'll give you all these free boxes, but oh hey, you've got to buy these keys.
Right. I
don't like that about Star Trek. And I think
some of them you can buy with in-game currency, which doesn't make it bad, but it's when you start spending $1,000 like some people.
So here's the thing. We're going to get in touch with EA because we know all of these problems, but if they pay us enough money, maybe we can come up with the world's best loot. Yeah? No, we're just going to come up with the best loot box scheme out there, and we're going to get rich and not worry about video games anymore.
Right.
There's no good answer to this because every company wants to make money. And they're going to keep pushing to see how far they can go. EA, Star Wars, right? They're going to keep trying to push. They're not going to stop anytime soon. That's the reality. But it's going to take laws. But even some of these laws, you have to be 21 to get it. Guess what? I was under 21 and I had my parents' credit card when I was subscribing to EverQuest.
And let's face it, you have to be 18 to go on porno on the internet. Are there like is that actually holding true out there? I'm just saying, right? Like it doesn't matter. Mr. Producer, are you there, Dexum?
I'm here.
You're here. What are you doing to David?
I decided that he's got too much green screen, so I wanted to just cut that out.
All right, put ponies behind him. Can I make a request of our producer?
Tell you what, next time
can you open your background loot box and see what you got?
Stick elf in his background.
David, if you can give him $5 right now, he'll give you a really good background.
Yes.
Wait. No one's checked if he's over 21 yet.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, I'm over. Oh, trust me, I'm over the hill. Yeah.
So we're talking about all this loot box stuff, and let's face it, we're talking about EA. I mean, right? So EA may really have screwed the pooch with all of their Star Wars Battlefront 2 business, because there were stories in the news this week about the fact that Disney is shopping around to other publishers to make Star Wars games. Please. So if there is any truth to that whatsoever, that tells me that probably Disney found a way out of the exclusivity deal with EA. Because otherwise, I mean, we don't know the details of the deal, but the whole thing is if you buy the exclusive rights to something, they can't go off to Ubisoft and have them do it.
And I think I saw something that said that if the quality of the games went down or something to a certain level, that they were able to get out of the deal that way. That's what I think I saw.
Alternatively, they just buy them.
I'm sorry.
Chris, you guys have to look at the stream right now. Dexum, you were not supposed to actually do that.
I mean, yes.
I just do what I'm told, guys.
A news article for the My Little Pony inspired fighting game that's coming out February 22nd, but
this is actually promotion, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it is.
If you're listening to the podcast, our wonderful producer put My Little Pony behind David.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say there's some wonderful color coordination that's going on here right now, too, with your chair.
Because his shirt and everything.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah. On a serious note, though, even if Disney couldn't find a way out of the contract, they'll take the money loss to get out of the contract because they can afford it. Just because they've seen, well, look at this bad PR. Huh. Because guess what? There's not stupid people who run Disney for the most part.
And also, they have more money than God, and they could buy them their way out.
And the reality is, they want a good Star Wars game to launch before the Star Wars Land hits. Because it's good PR, it's good money. I mean, that place is going to be stupid busy, and God knows, I hope I still don't work there when this happens. It's going to be busy as hell.
Oh, I believe it.
And
you know what I have? One of their problems is they canceled that one game that was going to be coming out soon. By Visceral. And they said the reason I saw on a report was that people didn't want linear games. I would love to take a linear story and play the heck out of it, you know?
I'd like to point to the entire visual novel genre right there. Hi EA, please see visual novel. Just type that into Steam. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Coming soon to a Star Wars game near you.
Oh yeah.
Dating simulator.
Luke Skywalker
actually a Wookiee.
Right.
What happens dating simulator? That's it right there.
Oh god.
Guys, we are just onto all kinds of money-making schemes tonight. Do you hear this?
Oh.
Like, somebody give us a job other than
Seriously,
our website.
Jobs. It doesn't pay enough. This.
Yeah. So, one thing I hope doesn't happen is if they give this thing over to Ubisoft. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is I hope they don't give it over to Ubisoft, because what will happen is you're going to have to climb something in the Star Wars game to unlock sections of the map, and you're going to get a million icons.
It's going to be antats all around Tatooine.
Yeah, exactly. And next thing you know, you're going to be flying into some alien bird, and it's going to be like zooming over the terrain.
Yep.
You know, that will be the reality of Star Wars after that point.
Say what you will about Ubisoft, though. The reality is, one, Assassin's Creed Origin was a really good release, and they had a lot of good points on it. And if you look at two former releases, namely Division and Ghost Recon, they came out bad, but over the years, both of them have improved tremendously. So I will give Ubi that. Although I hate the launcher, you played to death. It's a horrible launcher.
You know, and I played Division for a long time in the first year, and I didn't mind it. It was the dark side that really messed it up for me, where people were just camping, and you know, you go in there for 5 minutes, so you're dead 5 times.
It's not the fact that their games are bad. It's the fact that their games are so formulaic that you would know what the Star Wars game was a year before we ever actually got it.
Right.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, who else were they talking to, though?
Activision. It was Ubisoft and Activision.
Yep.
So, if you ever wanted to play a Star Wars Call of Duty, that's your other option.
I mean, it would sell.
Battlefront 2 is right now, isn't it? I mean, it's Battlefield.
I think to be honest, that's an insult to Call of Duty to call Battlefront 2 that.
Yeah,
it kind of is. Yeah,
Call of Duty.
I would agree with that.
Call of Duty even has at times it has narrative. Just putting my neck on the line there and saying that.
No, you're not wrong.
Let's
be honest.
Just with their zombies modes, those games are awesome.
Their campaigns are short, but they tend to be pretty good.
I would love Bethesda to get a hold of this. The game would be wonky for like the first 5 months, but then it'd work.
Skyrim Star Wars would be awesome.
And
running around with a lightsaber.
Like honestly, David, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
I mean, give me the ability to play like a Han Solo character in like a Fallout universe, but Star Wars.
Oh yeah. I would love
Hey, speaking of, there's a Han Solo movie coming out. Did you guys know that?
It looks great.
May 28th.
Cautious about it.
I think everybody should be cautious about it.
If
this movie was decent, you would think they'd be shouting from the rooftops, and instead, they are not even peeping from underneath the door.
There's reports that they were expecting it to bomb pretty bad, but the previews they had during the Super Bowl and the day after, it looks good to me, but I'm going in cautiously optimistic.
My biggest thing is that doesn't fit, that actor doesn't feel like Han Solo to me.
They said also that they had to bring acting coaches for him because he cannot act. So that kind of works.
Then why is he there?
in a freaking Star Wars movie.
Because with Phil Miller, Lord Miller, I can't remember the guy's name, the guys that were fired, they brought him in because they thought he looked like the character. And then when...
Listen,
that's exactly how casting works.
I mean, I could have played it better on Solo, probably.
The premise of it being a heist and stuff sounds cool. I love how they have Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. I think he looks amazing.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, supposedly they're keeping, from what I heard, somewhat close to the expanded universe Han Solo stuff. So, I'm really interested to see what they do with it. But once again, cautiously optimistic.
Like I said, you're dealing with one of my favorite characters.
I'll probably watch the movie
by one of my favorite actors. So
I know. Honestly, I've not been on board with this since they announced it. Rogue One was great and it was a standalone, but part of the thing it made the Han Solo character work was the fact that he was always still quite enigmatic, and there was a little bit of mystery around the character, and far too often companies are cashing in on that mystery and enigma that they have with characters they built up to go, right, so this is them from age 12 to 28X. Here's their entire backstory. And you're like, you don't need a backstory for every single character. This is, in my opinion, a cash grab.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Yoda.
I think so, too.
It's like Yoda. Lucas specifically didn't put a backstory to Yoda because he's a little Muppet and he's a cool guy. And you're like, wow, this guy's pretty cool. But now they're talking about doing a Yoda standalone movie. And Yoda's 900 years old, so he's got a lot of backstory. So what are you going to do with him?
I just don't want them to wreck the thing by driving it into the ground. Because I really feel if they actually do this every year, a Star Wars movie thing, people are not going to be excited about Star Wars anymore.
I mean,
I will be.
Oh, you know what? But you guys are not indicative of the average person, because like everyone, and I don't mean that in an offensive way, but seriously, we are like in the heart of geekdom. Everyone else, when you oversaturate it, it gets tired. It does, and eventually that will happen with Star Wars. If they do this every year thing, people, it's not going to be special. It's not going to be an event. Now, maybe individual entries in a franchise, like what we're having with the main Star Wars movies, like that will be a big thing. But I mean, like I've heard people point to the Marvel universe in this kind of situation of like, well, Marvel's doing it, they're getting away with it. Like we'll get into Black Panther in a second here, but the reason why Marvel can get away from it is they are all different stories tying into a larger whole. They're building a universe, whereas what we have here is like a main trilogy that's telling its own story, and these other things that are kind of sidelines. Like it is not as cohesive of a thing that they're actually doing. And let's be real here, Marvel put a whole lot more effort into building what they have right now than Disney is currently doing with Star Wars. Like I believe they probably want to do that.
And that's because Marvel had the ability to start early with Iron Man, and then they started building it right from Iron Man. It's not like Lucas, he had one movie, he's like, well, let's make the second one and then go from there. I mean, he had 3 movies that were pretty much back to back, but then you're 20 years before episode 1 comes out, 1999. And we were all excited for that, but then, Jar Jar Binks.
He said
no think so.
Look, I'm not even. Don't even go there with accents. Just don't. Jar Jar Binks would be better with a Scottish accent, quite frankly. But anyway,
everything would be better with a Scottish accent.
Scottish Yoda. I am all down for that.
Yoda with a Scottish accent? Okay. Anyway, but the fact is that Marvel didn't just pull Iron Man out their ass and then it worked. They had a number of, let's say, flat films prior to that. Even within the 5-10 year period before that, Hulk being the one that took a while to get off the ground. But as it stands, yeah, they've got. I actually thought we were going to see this problem with the Marvel Universe, to be honest. Like, I thought one a year was going to be problematic. With them, I thought we were going to get burned out, and then the Star Wars franchise has come along in the last 7 years or so, and it's been fairly continuous. I mean, and Disney aren't going to stop anytime soon, and frankly, I want a break from the Star Wars universe. I seriously would like them just to chill for a little bit. I'm quite happy with the pacing of one every 3 or 4 years. It keeps
it special when they do it that way.
Well, and hopefully with Rian Johnson, he's got a new trilogy he's going to write up and make. Hopefully it's something new and fresh, so it's not like, beating a dead horse with a lightsaber.
You know what's not going to have a trilogy is Black Panther. How many of you guys have seen Black Panther?
Not me. Not yet.
Nope.
Hopefully tomorrow.
That was cue, Mr. Producer. I did the call out.
Sorry. Yeah, I have also seen it. Is it my time? Am I supposed to talk with Ed about this right now? Because I'm totally ready for it.
If you want.
All I can add is it looks cool.
I agree. He's a big cat man.
Well,
that's what I know so far.
With vibranium armor.
So I'll let the producer start. But I'm gonna avoid spoilers, but I can still give an opinion. But I'll let my senior go first.
But I'm the senior.
That's a pre-show joke.
Yeah, that's true. So I saw the movie. I'm a big fan of the Marvel Universe, obviously. But in terms of Black Panther, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great film. I was talking about this earlier in Slack. I believe that it's getting the fanfare that it's getting because it released at the right time. Primarily similar to how Wonder Woman released to similar fanfare because it also released at the right time. I think it's kind of ingrained culturally. Let's just put it this way. I haven't seen any reviews yet that haven't mentioned the cultural impacts of what Black Panther represents in the same way that they did with Wonder Woman when that released. But even if you take all of that away, I still think it's a good movie. I think they did a really great. Like with most Marvel movies, they balanced the laughter with the action, with the feels. Ed, what do you think about the feels?
I think balance is something that Marvel have always done well, and it's been something that really they've focused on pretty heavily since the first Avengers film, and they've got a formula now for that sort of how much humor they bring into it, and how much light and brevity they have within their films that certainly works, and it works again in Black Panther. Black Panther, any of you that don't know, because our producer is great at introducing films, is about the King of Wakanda. T'Challa was introduced within the universe recently when his father was killed in one of the previous Marvel films, and he is the ritual protector of a mysterious African nation called Wakanda. That's he has superpowers. He has increased strength. He also has a vibranium mesh suit, which makes him like a. It gives him some level of protection. Yeah, pretty much. So going on from that, this is kind of him returning to Wakanda after the events of Civil War. This is him essentially becoming king after his father's death. And then there's some, let's not go into details, but there's some toing and froing about should he be king. And it's very much a rites of passage film in that respect. It weaves in levels of brevity that you'd expect from Marvel films. It touches on other sorts of genres very much. There's almost like a James Bond-esque sections of the film which work actually really well, which allow the brevity to really come into the film before it gets serious and a little darker further on. As for the cultural aspects of the film, I'm gonna be, well, as you can see, I might not be straight, but I'm a white male, so I don't really feel that I'm qualified to talk on the cultural aspects of the film. What I will say is that it didn't feel out of place or shoehorned in, and it felt like it worked within the context of the film. And you got to bear in mind that these comic books are not real life; they're an exaggerated persona of what they represent. So in that respect, it did work. There are end credit sequences, so if you do go and see it, feel free to sit in the cinema, and whilst people are walking out, go wrong, 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 wrong.
I mean, by this point, you expect an end of credits trailer from some of these things. It's like, why do you get up? stay there no matter what.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
I think that Ed was basically just pointing out that you should be shaming them if they're leaving. Just anyone
Yes.
who's leaving, just make sure you
Yes.
shame them.
Okay,
Yes.
I
Maximum
take my
shame.
big bell like from Game of Thrones and say shame.
Yes.
But yeah, as general rule, Black Panther it is a very good film. It does a lot of there's very much two sides to the film. There's the kind of James Bond-esque adventure at the start, then there's the coming of age, rites of passage, finding your place and who you are section of the film that is like the last 2/3 of it. But it does work for what it is, and they do feel like they lead onto each other well. Some of the you have to have a little bit of sense of where the film is before you go in and understand that some of the characters work, some of them don't, but it's not the best Marvel film, but it is very good. And regarding the box office, do take the box office with a pinch of salt with Black Panther. It doesn't take away from the film, but the film itself opens on the Tuesday. Now in the UK, we believe in the US as well, you take your box office on a Friday. So it has a whole, and it officially opens on Tuesday. So you've got a ridiculously long lead time. So you've got Tuesday to Friday, then Friday all the way back through until that opening week box office receipts get taken. So it has an extra four-ish days on top of it. Even if you take the weekend receipts, that's still an extra 4 days because those receipts from Tuesday to Friday are still included. So the box office opening is going to look ridiculous. It's going to make headlines, but take those with a pinch of salt.
I will say I still haven't seen it, but I will. Even if it's a Marvel movie that is just a good Marvel movie, it tends to be better than most other movies out there.
Oh well, it's not DC. Yeah, certainly.
I didn't say it.
I'm saying DC films are just truly awful.
They're pretty awful. I agree with
all
that.
right, hold up. However, the films suck. I will give you that. But DC is way better than Marvel, and I will brook no argument on that because Batman is the man.
Yeah, but he's like the only one.
I can't see your face to question you, Chris, so I'm trying to say the other Chris said that.
You know what?
Wait, what?
Listen, I broke the show.
Hey,
I will admit it. If you're listening on the audio stream, I wrecked everything. There's like two of everyone and none of me, and I'm feeling very insecure. So if you come at me about Batman right now, I am going to come back at you so hard, Brandon Wolf.
Batman, best man. There you go.
I'm going to tell you right now that I love DC shows that are on TV. And I love Batfleck's, portrayal of Batman in Batman vs Superman. I didn't 100% like the way the movie was. You could kind of see the projection throughout the entire film, how it was going to go. And then, you're like Batman vs Superman for 90% of it. And then, here we go. Here's the big bad guy. Let's go fight him.
Chris, the hero we don't need, but the hero we've got. Anyway,
you know what? I think it's time for you to go to the gym, Ed. If you're picking like that, good day to you, sir.
Oh Lord.
I also wanted to bring this up real quick since I got Bowman here. Bowman, I have to talk to you about this because this kind of worried me a little bit. They mentioned, and I'm not thinking this is a spoiler, so I'm not going to count it as a spoiler, but they say in the film that vibranium is the toughest substance in the Marvel universe. I was always told that it was adamantium.
That is what they said in Captain America.
That's his shield, right?
The first Avenger. They said that vibranium. Howard Stark said vibranium was the strongest alloy in the entire planet. So, adamantium. I don't know. Isn't that?
Well, if you go lore-wise, he has cut Cap's shield at one point. So
Wolverine.
Okay.
Yeah. So
not within the MCU though, so we've got to bear in mind that this is its own continuity here, and they do have some level of continuity. So I kind of put the comics to one side in that respect, that they are a touchstone for the films, but they're not the MCU.
Yeah, we won't know for sure until hopefully Disney gets the right
get their finger out their ass. Yeah,
that's the other thing too. Like adamantium really hasn't ever been introduced into the current MCU, right?
Correct.
So. There you go.
Because it's in the Fox universe, not the MCU.
Well, I mean, does Fox just have rights to adamantium? Is that what's going on?
Well, I think they have rights to everything for that. So everything, X-Men, everything, Fantastic Four. So I don't think they can literally use adamantium in the MCU right now.
You guys are going down quite the bunny trail right now. I'm just going to throw that out here. You're like, adamantium is just vibrating him. So vibranium.
Comic book nerds. Where's Scott?
Nerd war.
Our website is about geek culture. This is the safe place to do that. But for the record, if you guys ever make a comic book, please come up with a better name than vibranium. It's way too close to vibrating. And
Vibranium.
I think that was kind of the point.
Vibranium.
Well, what the heck are they going for here?
Yeah,
the man is wearing a vibrating suit. Is that what you're telling me? Maybe that's why he's swishing his tail.
Chasing down Nazis particularly difficult. Excuse me, I have to stop for a rest. What are you doing with that pack of Kleenex, Cap?
I'm glad you're here. Don't go to the gym anymore. You need to stay now.
Ed's gonna be a normal from now on, right?
Are you glad you let me host today, Dexum?
I'm actually very glad, but I don't know where you went. You disappeared.
I'm gonna turn my
camera. I can't bring you back.
I'm gonna turn my camera off. All right, it's off. Now I'm back.
You're not showing up on the Skype stream. Do you guys see
your profile pic. That's all I see.
Yeah.
Darn it! Well, I can't. Like, do you want me to close?
Wait, hang on.
You should not have gotten up.
This is indeed why we need a stream deck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be the stream deck.
So we don't have this problem anymore.
Dude, you're talking to the hardware guy here right
now.
now.
Buttons. That's all he's good for.
It happened when he got up from his computer. As soon as he did, boom, gone.
Well, that's because I unplugged my webcam.
You unplugged your webcam?
Because I was lagging so bad. And here's the terrible part. I'm lagging worse now. But you should know I'm blaming you for this whole thing because I'm watching your screen and I'm pretty sure that's making my entire system like kind of cough and chug along right now.
You can close out. You don't have to watch the screen anymore. We pretty much.
How am I going to know if I'm back on camera?
You'll never know.
I'm in a button-up shirt, young man. If I'm not on camera, I don't need to wear a button-up shirt.
That's true. That's true.
Am I older than you?
Well, basically, what I'm envisioning right now is the camera's going to come back and you're going to be wearing no shirt, and that's like my worst fear right now.
For everyone listening to the podcast, this is going to be interesting.
So, real talk behind the scenes right now. Do you want me to close Skype and just rejoin?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I will do that. I love you, everybody. In case I don't come back.
He's not coming back.
The host abandons us for the rest of the show.
He's never coming back. So that's the perfect segue. If Chris is never coming back, we can segue into what are you playing, which is my favorite part of the show, and Chris's too. And he's not here to say otherwise, so suck on that. So I know we didn't really get into it before. We didn't get to talk about what you guys are playing. You didn't give me a lot of media, but I know that Bowman's playing something special. So tell us a little bit about that.
So, I'm probably going to get the name wrong.
Yes, you will.
In front of me. Let me see. Give me 1 second.
Oh,
he doesn't know what he's playing.
Whoa,
no,
he is back.
I do, but I didn't have the full name. It's called Trail of Cold Steel.
Trails of Steel. Yeah.
And it's like the Heroes Legend. Sorry, I'm murdering it because I did not have it up in front of me.
Dude, you are losing JRPG points right now.
Yes, I am.
You know what? Really are.
Honestly, I haven't played many JRPGs because some of them didn't look. Hear me out. Some of them didn't look good to me, but now that I'm doing these reviews and things, my entire gaming palette has started to change, and like I've fallen in love with this game. It's called Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 2. I have not played the first one, so I'm kind of going into it fresh with no backstory, but I'm starting to pick it up. This game, right from the get-go, it's got me hooked. I played 2 hours. And I'm only in the first area still, like the first section of the game. I'm learning it, and the graphics are great. They apparently in this version for PC they added a whole bunch of extra English speaking to it. So some of the spots where in most games, you see their mouths moving, but you have just subtitles. Well, there's actually talking in it, so it gives you more of a interactive feel to the game. The cinematics in this game are awesome, and the battle system. I mean, it's just like a traditional RPG, turn-based, and you know, you got your battle system, your arts, and to me, it's like the kind of RPG that everybody should be making, not some of these action RPGs where you just push a button. You know, I don't like RPGs where you push a button just to attack and then you level up.
You know, I like JRPGs in theory. When I was growing up, I really liked them. I was going to make a joke and ask you how long it was until a Babam appeared, but yeah, right. I'm glad somebody got that. But I find that I don't have a tolerance for grinding as much as I used to. Now, there are exceptions to that, like Ni no Kuni was amazing. Like, I love that. Can't wait for Ni no Kuni 2. But in a general sense, that's just not where I'm at as a gamer anymore. So have you found that really, really grindy?
This game, so far I haven't seen it as very grindy. As far as the battle system or the battles are concerned, it's kind of more like Final Fantasy 12, where you got enemies in the world and you can run into them and start a battle. Little different. When you're outside of the battle, you can swing your sword at them, and if you get them from the side, you can hit them and stun them. It gives you more of a chance to go into the battle and get a leg up on them. I mean, I was fighting enemies for half an hour, went up a level. The second game, because I haven't played the first one, it started me at level 40, so I'm assuming that's acting like a part 2 of the game, like the part 1 and part 2, so it just continues into it, kind of like what Mass Effect did. I think Mass Effect, if you beat the first game and transferred your character over, you started at a higher level, if I can remember. But I mean, for me, it's not that grindy. I mean, I've played Final Fantasy 12, and that's very grindy. You literally have to sit in an area for 3 hours to level all your characters up, otherwise you don't do it.
Setsu in the chat just made a really good point that we all work for an MMO site, and I'm sitting here complaining about grind. Like, so apparently context matters. So thank you very much for calling me out on my complete and utter hypocrisy, because I will grind in an MMO. You know what it is, though? It's the other people that really do make the difference, and that is if I feel like I'm connected to a place that is going when I'm not there, it helps me jump that mental hurdle. Like, extending that time isn't such a big deal at that point.
And without segueing too much down a wee rabbit hole here, I was talking last week to someone about grind, actually, and the issue with grind is that grind isn't necessarily a problem, it's that you gate content behind that grind. Gating content is really the thing that kills me. Is grinding through an MMO right now, and it's not a massive grind, but I've got a quest level right now that keeps putting me off, that I have to complete a series of world quests to complete to get access to grind out a level, to get a skill, to be able to access another zone, to be able to get a skill, to be able to complete another step in the story. And I'm just like, every time I pick it up, I just go, nope, can't be fucked with this. It's like there's 3 levels of gate for what is essentially 5 minutes of narrative content, and I can't deal with that. And when you have massive amounts of grinding behind a lot of gating, that's what really kills you. So it's effort against payoff, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. So since we're talking about what we're playing, Ed, what are you playing right now?
A few different bits and pieces, but obviously I'm still dipping in and out of closers since it launched. We did the Tiamat raids preview, and I believe MMORPG, we got the review in progress, or has that already been posted? I think it's still in progress at the moment. So I'm dipping in and out of that at the moment. That's fun, but light. It's not particularly difficult. It's not massively inventive, but it mashes together a few different genres, so it's fun. I'm also still hooked on Octageddon, which is a game that is basically come out of PopCap. That's not PopCap. It's from a development company called All Yes Goods. It's basically the PopCap team who made Plants vs Zombies. It's about a massive... So it very much takes the PopCap approach of having the same sort of visuals, cartoony style, kind of tongue-in-cheek humor. It's visually and aesthetically very much like Plants vs Zombies, and you play a very... let's say a giant octopus with anger issues who sets out to destroy human cities. It's a very simple game, but it has a deceptive level of depth. Not making a C pun right there. It does really hook you in, though. Okay, I'll stop with the puns. And
I didn't get either of those until you pointed them out, and they still made me laugh. But reel it in. You got to bring it home.
Yeah. So the game itself has a deceptive level of depth that keeps pulling you back in because, frankly, you've got a number of progression systems in it where you'll either float around the sea and blast enemies out of it with your many tentacles and the upgrades you can get from them. Everything from pufferfish to ninja starfish and homing bees through to things like massive claws and other upgrades that I can't think off the top of my head right now. The point is that every time you die, you have some level of roguelite elements in it that allow you to pick different upgrades and randomization of enemies across those levels. So it keeps kind of dragging you back in to keep seeing if you can do better and better, and it has that kind of classic idea of it's a simple idea, but it has enough variation that you keep wanting to go back and try and do better than you're doing. And slowly you kind of grind through the game, and I can't believe a game that's that cheap and that simple an idea has basically got me wasting my my $1,000 gaming laptop on the train playing it. It has 2 controls that go left and right.
Just 1,000.
It does sound to me a bit like you're playing Cthulhu, giant octopus thing destroying cities.
Pretty much is. Actually, the first thing I thought was that they've taken the idea of Rampage and done it better than either the upcoming Rampage film or the Rampage reboot. Because as little as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson can do wrong, I'm not looking forward to that film.
But would he make a good American president? That's the real question we should be asking.
Would he make a less bad American president?
Yes.
I don't know. I can smell what The Rock is cooking. I think it might be a good time for The Rock to step up.
He's going to drop the people's elbow on somebody, man.
Yeah, North Korea better watch out, man. When the people's elbow comes into office, there's no more playing around.
There's going to be Brahma bulls on those nukes, man.
Right now, we have like the people's comb over. Like we need the people's elbow. That's what's happening. Yeah, I watched that Saturday Night Live thing where he was with Tom Hanks. For real, if he and Hanks actually ran, they would win by a landslide. Oprah would not stand a chance. And this is real life American politics. The Rock versus Oprah is a real possibility in a couple of years here. Welcome to real life. This is why we play video games.
And, I heard Schwarzenegger said he wanted to try and get something done so he could run for president at some point a couple years ago. So, but
yeah,
he's not a born and raised American citizen. So,
well, enough of the politics, though. David, what are you playing, man?
I've been playing a couple things. First off, I've been playing the Ash of Gods preview, which I will be streaming later.
The Ash of Gods.
Ash.
No, Ash.
I thought we talked about the 18-year-old age limit.
Ash. ASH, which has been pretty good. It's a nice little mix of games. I've also been playing Subnautica, which is really fun, but if you have any fear of water or deep diving or dark places, do not play. And also I've been playing my favorite mobile game, Fate Grand Order.
So first off, thankfully, I didn't know that Fate Grand Order had actually come out in the West, so I'm going to be checking that out because, my God, I'm just back from Japan at Christmas, and it was all over every bloody outlet and store that you.
And right now they're having an event for the first American crossover event with Eyes of the Sinner. God, I know I'm saying it wrong. It's the other show that Type Moon does.
Okay. I don't know which one that is, but yeah.
So it's the first official American crossover event.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be getting to play that. And Subnautica, is that not made by THQ? Is that was that?
No, that's actually an indie dev team that made it.
Ah, okay.
It is
Okay, I don't know where I got that from.
Early access recently-ish.
Yeah.
It's a really great game, but if you have any fear of water, deep diving or anything like that, that game can trigger you hard, especially the fact that you don't have weapons. So
it's very much an exploration
it seems
game.
like that game should be in VR then, right?
there is a VR part for it, but it's not as immersive as other VR games.
Well,
That was the shit
I did
sucker.
not want him. Get me off the bed.
I'm trying to not look awkward right now. I just got rejected
You're
by my
looking very
house
awkward.
cat.
Just saying.
He said, well, not today.
You know what? So I'm over here doing this weird stuff, and Ed, I'm just kind of watching your face, just watching what's going on, and this lack of understanding about what's going on with my cat. I was trying to do Chris's cat corner because that was a special request from our producer today, that we had to do that. And I tried to have him have his first appearance, and he didn't want to do it.
Now, the cats will never make an appearance until you specifically do not want them to, and then there'll be an ass.
Directly on the keyboard?
An ass of God right on your keyboard, yeah.
Or, how about this? Cat owners will get this one. You're mousing around, you got the mouse in your hand, and...
Sorry,
and they come
what
and they
was
wanna
there any need for that pun right there?
You have to come back more often now.
What?
That's just going to be a rule. You have to get up at 4:30 in the morning every Friday from now on.
Right.
Oh, dear. Anyway.
So, yeah, I'm playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I like it.
Which everyone who's been going nuts about.
Segues from mice.
It's pretty good. I like, as far as, like, representing medieval life without having all kinds of fantasy in it, it's excellent for that, and their attention to detail is really good. But even after the day one patch, there's still a lot of bugs with it. Some really finicky things, like, for example, like there's at least one quest where you're following this noble, right? It's pretty cool because you start off and you're following him and he's on his horse, but you're a commoner. And you're like, hey, dude, can I have a horse too? And he's like, no, you're going to chase me. So you go chasing him. And if you happen to do anything that gets yourself in combat, the queue for, like, fast travel does not happen. So consequently, you're supposed to, like, warp right to your objective. But what actually happens if you accidentally trigger this thing is you just follow this guy for, like, 20 minutes. It's like, ridiculous. And that kind of stuff happens all over the place. But you know what's really cool about it is, since there's no high fantasy, they put all of their attention into giving you, like, I'm sure it's actually not very realistic, but the most realistic we have in modern video games right now, a take on that time period. So, like, going and walking through, like, townships, for example, you can stop and just kind of, like, take in all of these little fine details that they have. And it's really kind of fascinating. And you get weird stuff that'll happen, like a guard will just come up and be like, hey, let me search you. Or if, for example, you're walking into a place you shouldn't, they'll give you, like, one warning and then they go right out and they tell the guard. Like, it's pretty cool. Or how about this? You have to wash your clothes or else you have a lower chance to succeed in conversation.
I like that.
Yeah. Or if, for example, you're covered in blood, somebody might be like, you're freaking me out, dude. I'm not talking to you. Or, you know, things like that. A friend of mine gave me an example. It was Jatobi, who's writing the review for GameSpace. He had said he had killed somebody. I don't know who he had killed. But he came back across the corpse a while later, and there's a guy looting the corpse. And he goes into conversation with this guy later and tries to criticize him for looting the corpse. And the guy's like, to paraphrase, like, what are you talking about? You're covered in his blood right now. Like, it's like
quite awesome.
It is. Like, there's a level of depth there that's really cool. I wish it was a little less buggy, and I wish it ran better. Like, that. I mean, that's a major issue.
I mean, when you take into account the fact that it is one of the few... It's one of those few Kickstarters, and far too rare Kickstarters, that succeed and get a decent amount of money and has managed to produce a game that's come out and isn't shit, let's be honest, then it's kind of succeeded in that respect. So it seems to be no mean feat. Getting the money out of people on Kickstarter is half the battle, but then actually bringing the game out and managing to do it without producing a crock of shit is it seems to be more difficult than it would seem because people don't forward plan. So it's impressive that they've managed it and it's come out with such good reviews.
Yeah, I agree, and it really had a lot of ways in which it could go wrong. So, like, in the grand scheme of things, I think they did a really, really good job with it. So, like, my review has some of these points that are in there. Like, I did a provisional review, and I gave it a 7 out of 10 because I didn't have as much time with this day one patch. And don't get me wrong, the day one patch does fix a lot. Like, in pre-release, the game had tons of bugs, particularly with conversation. Like, I had one, for example, where I had multiples where it would not spawn your character where you're supposed to. So it goes into conversation, the camera's just looking at a blank wall as your voice comes out of the wall. Or it would spawn you inside of the person you're talking to. So when it goes back to them, there's your character with like their arms coming out like this. Like
inside or inside.
There you go again.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because that's the difference between a bug and a feature, Chris.
Well, so how about this? So I had one instance where I'm talking to this person inside a castle, and the game bugs out, right? So then instead of spawning me back inside the castle, you can see it kind of glitch out, and I come back, and I'm, like, on top of a wall under the roof looking down at the whole layout. So I, like, glitched between walls under the roof of this thing. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to try to hop down, like you would in the Middle Ages if you're glitching between walls. Well, I try to hop down, and I fall straight down through the earth. And then the game's like, oh, sorry, bro. And it just put me right back in the middle of the street after that. It didn't kill me, which was nice. But it's like that kind of quirkiness that patch was supposed to address. And so far, it's done a really good job. However, since I'm running on 1080 Ti, 1440p, the fact that in conversation on the highest settings will drop down to 20 frames a second is horrible. Horrible. Like, that just should not be happening. The only way I can even hold 60 frames a second is if I drop my settings down to high, which it speaks to optimization. So there are ways to go. I would wait for a sale, but pretty cool overall. I mean, if you're interested in it, I think it's actually pretty awesome, but if you go in now, you have to expect it to run bad.
Which I expect to see comment on in the review is, how's the dog companion worked out? Apparently you get a dog companion. Apparently, well, the Kickstarter promised a dog companion, and Kickstarter met that goal, so I want definite opinion on the dog companion.
So they added dog meat into Kingdom Come Deliverance.
You do get a dog companion. And it's pretty cool how you get him in the beginning. He's not as in-depth as dog meat. I'll say that. But he's pretty cool. He's better rendered than dog meat.
I would hope so.
I don't want to spoil anything. So
dog is saying like a crucial narrative
with a game
point
like this that's getting into medieval realism. I would love to see a Japanese, like, samurai feudal Japan realism game like that. That would be pretty cool.
I will tell you this.
You're telling me that Neo isn't realistic?
Well, I mean, you know, the Oni.
I'll tell you this about Kingdom Come. I won't tell you much about the dog companion, but I will tell you can buy dog skins at the tailor. So, the fact that you have a dog companion and you don't eat him is a little...
Sorry, my mind got slightly blown there because when you said you could buy dog skins, I initially thought like an outfit skin. Like
I mean a literal dog skin.
And I'm like, you could buy you can make what? And I realized you meant in context of the game.
This game just went Cruella de Vil and they're stealing Dalmatians.
I'm thinking Montgomery Burns myself. But the fact that you can't wear an all dog outfit, I find a little disappointing when I can buy dog skin. Yes, exactly.
Right back to the cash shop and loot boxes, right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a microtransaction. Here's a dog outfit made from real dog, and then PETA gets on them, and the maker of the game gives no craps whatsoever when people criticize him. So
what happens when you get gambling in your tavern in Kingdom Come? Do we have to get an age check for that, or? I
think you do. Yeah, I think you do, as a matter of fact. But if you want to go into the bathhouse and so this was awesome. You go into the bathhouse and you can sleep with a woman, right? So then you get like an hour-long buff that's just alpha male that boosts your stats.
Wow. Chris frequented the bathhouse.
You got to try everything, man. I'm
Go?
testing a
Why,
game
yes,
here.
Yes.
This buff, it does nothing. That's because you've not left the bathhouse.
It's like
yet.
Grand Theft Auto when you
For the last 6
get in
hours.
the car and you see a little boop, 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 and you're like, okay, cool, great, let's go.
So here's the thing: when you run out of money, the buff disappears. You're no longer the alpha male. Oh my goodness! All right, we need to transition out of this because we're going to offend somebody.
Yes.
Chris, where can we promote your stuff, please? What can we look from you in the near future?
Wrote from me.
Yeah.
What you do?
My game reviews or whatnot.
Or
Whatnot would be good. Yes.
So I mean, I'm
going
reviewing.
grocery shopping on Saturday.
Yeah, well.
What are you publishing on the internet?
So I will
That's
soon
the
be
question.
publishing a review for Trails of Cold Steel 2, and I am also looking at Age of Empires, the definitive edition. So those are coming soon. Next,
Where are they coming?
they're coming to GameSpace.com.
It's all right. We'll get them through this.
You guys gotta give me
He's
some
new to
credit.
this. All right, so listen.
I've
there is an
watched
art
one
to
show
shameless
with you guys. That was
self-promotion.
last
of this.
So
Y-
Do
you
you
tell 'em
have
what to
aid
do.
sweaters for the stream?
I do
Chris, do you
have.
tweet?
I think I have the Twitter for the stream.
What's your tweet? Or what's your Twitter handle?
What's your tweet?
It's at Shinzon of Remus 1.
All right, we got to work with you on getting something that's easy to spell.
Yeah, I'm thinking about just changing to my Xbox handle, which is the Wolf 1.
There you go.
That
That's
would
gonna
work.
be taken. So
Probably.
we're gonna be the Wolf _1 or the _
Or-
the Wolf.
XXX, the Wolf One, XXX.
No triple X wolves here.
All right, we're going
Sorry,
there.
guys.
David, where can we find your stuff? I'm sorry. Should I be
Uh,
calling you by your handle? I'm failing as a host.
You've done
Branded
3 times the podcast. It doesn't matter at this point. On Twitter, you can find me at Branded Wolf. On Twitch, you can find me at Branded Wolf at E the end. Don't ask me why, because Twitch took my name and I would never give it back. Also, I will be on GameSpace and MMORPG. I will be doing a review for hardware soon. Also, I'll be doing a preview for Asher Gods and hopefully throw some questions to the devs and get some answers to that as well next couple days. And I have a bi-weekly column on MMORPG.com called Kinda Sorta a Space Ninja for Warframe.
I love that title, by the way. Kind of, sort of a space ninja. That's awesome. How about you, Ed? What are you up to, sir?
Rather than throw all my social media at you, you can check out my stuff through characterselect.net, which is where my portfolio sits. So you can buy my Twitter, Twitch, player.me, all that kind of crap out there. So that's characterselect.net, and that's where all my portfolio stuff is. I squawk for GameSpace.com and MMORPG.com. You'll find various stuff coming from me right now. I've got a number of things I'm working on, so we've got a couple of keyboards kicking about that that I had sent to me. I've got Tokidori 2 coming, which I'm having a look at. I am going to London's PC Gamer Weekender. We're going to be chatting to the team behind Vermintide 2 on Sunday. So that should be coming soon. Whether that's coming on YouTube or written, I do not know. It just depends whether my equipment craps out on me or not. Always take extra batteries. If you ever do interviews, take extra batteries. Always record with 2 devices, never one, or you're screwed. Something will always break. On that, I also write for a site outside of the GameSpace Global Corp, which is the Goshkia Community Magazine. You will not be able to spell that for your life, but
Wait,
it's
how do you pronounce that?
Goshkia.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Yep.
I always wondered that.
I have pronounced that so wrong for years. I always called it Gassy Hawk or Gassy.
You call it gas.
I'm gonna get.
He said it's full of gas.
I'm gonna get Foglada on this stream at some point just to pronounce it properly for everyone. So Goshka is GAISCOI. Shit, I can't remember how to spell.
That's a really long spelling, dude.
It is, isn't it? So it's Gaiscioch. That's Gaiscioch. That's Goshkia. The team there have a community-driven magazine, which I think most of us have some sort of affinity to. I've done a number of stuff over there, including we just got a piece out after the Guild Wars 2 Friendships campaign, having a chat with the devs there, which you also find stuff relating to that on mmorpg.com as well. So yeah, lots of stuff coming.
Okay, and for me, I have I put up a review of the Xbox One X today, which was pretty well received. So you can check that out at mmorpg.com. On Sunday, there's a review of Bloody Gaming's new B975 keyboard, which has these awesome new optical switches that are really very nice. And I put on this headset because this is coming at some point too. This is an Audio Technica headset, and ooh, I love this. It is god awful expensive. Let me tell you, but they are so nice. It's a Bluetooth headset that does aptX HD. And this is one of the only Bluetooth headsets you can actually buy that will do like really high-end audiophile level audio. And they're very nice. They're like $500. So the pitch that I'm doing with this, is I'm getting a transmitter, an aptX HD transmitter for my PC. And we're going to try to make this the world's best wireless gaming headset. That's going to be the dealio with these, but I love them.
So the Xbox One X to pay for it.
Yeah, yes, which is true. Benefits of doing product reviews is that was not a paid for item, and that will be disclosed in the review itself. But it's pretty cool. Can I do a little test? You have the keyboards over there, Ed. Are they mechanical keyboards?
Yeah, I've got two. I've got one with one. I've got
don't tell me.
Okay.
Don't say a word. I want you to put that up to the microphone, and I want you to click some of those keys, and I'm going to guess what the switch is inside that.
Okay.
This is my domain.
You ready?
Yep. That is a blue tactile switch, not blue, brown.
Yeah, it is a blue equivalent switch. Yeah.
I didn't hear the clickies. I heard the tactile, right? So you can hear the difference. And so let's try the other one now.
The other one, hold on. What the hell am I doing to my browser? This is the one that I've got plugged in right now. I have to actually unplug my keyboard. One moment. Ready?
Yep. That sounds like a linear one. Yep. Is it linear? Yeah?
Yep.
Is it like a red equivalent?
It's red.
Aha. There we go. All right. Awesome. Thank you for joining me in that. I had to test myself. Which actually, there's one other thing I want to point people towards. I finally had my first review published over at PC Perspective, which is pcper.com, pcper.com. I reviewed a Cherry G80, I think it was, but it had the silent black switches, which was really neat. I have a mouse review coming up and really a bunch of stuff. I'm doing some Corsair gear going forward, so that's really cool. Those guys know their stuff in a very, very serious way, so I'm really honored that they're going to let me work with them over there. So keep an eye out. I'm handling a selection of accessories. I hope it's a regular thing, but freelancing kind of is what it is. So as often as possible.
Segueing off of that, actually, you just reminded me. I'm for any of you that are listening to Chris being able to tell you what keys are we've got on our keyboards just from hearing them. If you are bamboozled by the idea of what's a blue, what's an equivalent, what's a red, and what's a black, I am maybe halfway through a beginner's guide to keys. So I'm not sure where Chris is going to put it, but it'll get there in the next week or so, I imagine.
Awesome. That's super important. Good job. I'm very proud of you for doing that, because I should have done that a long time ago, and you were coming to my rescue, sir.
I am not rescuing anyone. You're gonna have to fix this.
Well,
agree. What's the difference between a red and a black? The pretty colors. You're like, no, no, just no.
One goes clack, the other goes clock. That's how it goes. One goes clack, clack, clock, click, and thonk. is
You know,
switches.
this is going to be perfect for the people that are listening to the podcast.
It is. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should probably wrap the show up. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to check us out over at GameSpace.com and MMORPG.com for all of your MMO and RPG news at MMORPG, and all of your wider geek culture stuff over at GameSpace.com. Ed, thank you for getting up early and joining us, sir.
Thank you. I should be going to work right now.
All right. Well,
The question is, are you?
I'm going to the gym now.
All right,
It's
there you
5:30 in the
go.
morning. I'm going to the gym.
That is more dedication than I have. Let me tell you.
Desperation.
Yeah. Chris, thank you for joining us. Also, is your first time. You did good, sir.
Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting me.
And Brandon Wolf, you earned special props #1 for letting me call you by your normal name and not calling me out the entire show.
And having
also,
My Little Ponies.
Yes, My Little Pony, which started out as a green screen background, but at some point, David, your camera moved and we could see little clips in the side. So now it seriously looks like you have a My Little Pony poster hanging behind you.
That's
It's not
awesome.
even a joke. It just looks
Yeah.
legit like a poster.
Flag. Flag. I'm going
Thanks,
with
Jack.
flag. He has a
Thanks.
flag that he
It looks like a
flies.
flag.
It's just been brought in from the front yard.
Yeah, thanks.
He's flying it with pride out in the front yard.
Mhm.
And with that, guys, thank you for listening, and we will be back next Friday. Good night, everybody.
Peace.
Night.